It's on you.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boys, Kyle and Petey. We're going to be discussing the Clone Wars. Just an overall discussion about it, the importance of it, according to Dave Filoni, the executive producer of Mandalorian, and of course, the guru and executive producer of the Clone Wars, how important that is to the development of the prequel series. Now, once again, I have some naysayers here. I want to introduce them to you right now. Petey, anti-Clone War, and Cal, the hater himself. So, gentlemen,
Kellen is with us in spirit because of the COVID nightmare right now. So that's why you can't see him. Keep going. The show that wasn't meant to be a joke. It's not all the way it was a little.
So one of the things I'm telling these guys, and I hope you guys will show up in the comments and give me a thumbs up and back me up on this, that according to Dave Filoni, the Clone Wars have been instrumental in helping to flesh out the whole Star Wars universe, especially the prequels. It helps us to understand what Anakin was about, what led him to the dark road that he eventually took. Yes, we do see him in the prequel show, but I think that delves more into who he is and the losses that he suffered in him, and it's much plainer. And I think that it works well, especially his connection with other characters there, from the clone troopers, the other Jedi.
Wait. Let's start over. What is the Clone Wars about? Give us a good overview of the Clone Wars. A nice 1 minute or 30 seconds. 1 minute. What the Clone Wars are.
Clone Wars basically follows the exploit of Anakin and Obi-Wan. Those are the main characters, and of course there are subsidiary characters such as different clones and other characters that we are introduced to in the Star Wars universe during the Clone War itself. We get to delve into who these guys are. From the clones, originally they're just these clones. They're just doing whatever, like robots almost. And at the very end, we find out how human they really are. The things that they suffer. We find out different type of clones. We find out how the Jedi, they were this esteemed body of, I guess, sorcerers. Some people were considered, but how there were many parts of the population that did not like them. They were afraid of them, or thought that they were so far removed from them, they were just myth. So this really delves into all of this, and of course, the development of Anakin into what would eventually become Darth Vader, and how that affects those around him. And it's important because this helps to inform, like, The Mandalorian, which is a big hit on Disney Plus, and which will probably be spawning other shows based on that. So it is, and how it connects to both the prequels, the original series, and I don't see as much connection with the current crop of movies right now. Of course, they're trying to control. There are connections, but the key thing is that it really hits up with some of those, and it helps inform that's going on. So the executive producer was just saying that he had the final season that just happened in Netflix a little while ago, where they had the Clone Wars and they had Ahsoka, and where there's a road where she's supposed to go. She's trying to get Obi-Wan and Anakin to go with her to Mandalore and free Mandalore from Darth Maul and his minions. And what ends up happening is that, unfortunately, Anakin and Obi-Wan go back to the planet, to the Imperial, not the Imperial planet, but the capital, because the Chancellor's been taken and they're trying to help him. We see what happens where Anakin in the prequels, he gets there and he ends up killing Dooku, Count Dooku, and of course cementing his movement towards the dark side. So imagine if he would have went and stayed with Ahsoka Tano and they would have tried to take over or stop Darth Maul. That could have prevented a lot of problems that end up happening. But enough. So the point of the matter is that it's very important in terms of what happens going forward in both the Clone Wars and Mandalorian, and it helps inform the series, his background and the characters too. So it's very important. I think that it's a very instrumental series that if you really want to understand, and you don't have to, but if you're a true Star Wars fan, that you probably have to go and look at some of that.
How many seasons was it?
I believe it's 7 or 8 altogether.
Oh, Lord, man, that's a lot.
What you mean, oh Lord? I know you did not say oh Lord.
Okay,
no one said oh Lord when
great.
It was.
Wow, they really got a lot of story out of that.
No one said oh Lord when they were talking about Game of Thrones, right? No one said oh Lord.
I did. I might have.
No one said oh Lord when they were talking about what's that? The longest running series on CW? Superstitions. What's it called?
I said, "Oh Lord," when it came down to Grey's Anatomy. Is that still long? That's same.
Yeah, 7 seasons for Clone Wars, and the last season was on Netflix. And they've been trying to close this for a couple of years, but they keep bringing it back. So
they're bringing it back?
No, the 6th season was with Netflix. The 7th season was with Disney Plus. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking about this before about.
Are you going to torch this, or am I going to torch this, Petey? Who's going to do it?
I'm saying I'm going to do that. Let me just go then.
Okay.
I'm not going to torch it, but I'm going to say that I see as you do, because they did a smaller Clone Wars, which it was like a little really short 2-minute things that I was very much into, but
Right.
I had a thing that I was struggling with, which was Anakin and Obi-Wan, and they did their normal banter, like no Anakin, and just started to hate the name Anakin. But the success of the Clone Wars animated that came after that was a big success to many Star Wars fans, and I feel like finally we got a series that sort of, is strong in Star Wars. So then, of course, with that success leads them to do more, like most TV shows. You do more and more and more until you actually, they should go for 8, really grind it out, get to that jump the shark stage, because that's what you do in television. So, but I mean, I can't fault them for keep going and bringing in Darth Maul, who of course is a very popular character that was cut short.
Exactly,
that's what I got.
Cut short.
He got cut in half.
He got cut in half, and he brought the underworld together, and he takes over Mandalore, and he's the antagonist to Obi-Wan, and it goes through various seasons. So, Kyle, what's your take on this?
You want to answer that call?
While you discuss it.
I'll wait for the call. Okay. Anyway, the Clone Wars worked as a series twice. The first one, the one that was actual animation, not computer generated animation, was nice, short, to the point. That was great. But then, of course, we got a George Lucas everything. Like, hey, let's do some more. This works, but let's do some more. Why? I got money. So let's do some more. So then they do the next series, which actually does more episodes. I still thought the first animated was better overall because it was really to the point for what you were coming to see within the movies. But then that series, it did a lot to develop other characters like Ahsoka Tano. I forget, was it the Clone Wars guy, Rex? Right. It did a lot to develop those other characters. I thought the smallest amount of development you got was with Anakin and Obi-Wan. That was pretty much the smallest amount, and I realized why. There's really not that much more you can do with those characters in that stage, because we already know what's supposed to happen to them. Anakin's going to turn to the dark side. Obi-Wan is going to become this hermit, waiting to see what's going to happen for the future to try to reestablish the Jedi. So we already know they can only go so far with those characters. We can't have Anakin as this sunny, cheery disposition character, and then out of nowhere he has this, great fall out of nowhere. We're supposed to be building towards that, but it was still very enjoyable for those reasons. It ends, okay. We have the last film as well. Everything's tied up, no big problem. To go back to it now and say, well, there's more development we can do. Look, if you just want to tell more Clone Wars stories, we can tell more Clone Wars stories. Or if you're like, hey, we want to use the Clone Wars as a nice platform to get people to jump so we can go for more Mandalorian stuff, that's good too. But the idea that you're still developing the character of Anakin Skywalker at this point, after the film is done, after we have the end films as well dealing with Darth Vader, is just ridiculous at this point. There is no development further that you need to go in other than what you did with Revenge of the Sith. Okay, you already knew that he was a troubled kid. We already saw that he has problems, as Yoda already said, that he had problems with fear. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. This leads to suffering. And that was Anakin the whole way through, that he was making poor decisions, that he didn't have an adequate teacher in Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan didn't get to finish his training with Qui-Gon being killed. All of these things proceed to the man who will one day become Darth Vader. and it's the love that he has for Padme, which finally puts him over the edge. It also doesn't help that he's got an emperor who nobody knows is a Sith whispering into his ear. But you get all of that in Revenge of the Sith. I think it's very disingenuous to tell people we're still going to develop Anakin's character at this point when we already know the things that are going to happen. And there's nothing that you can do in the Clone Wars to actually change that. If you want to tell more Clone Wars stories because you think it's cool, or you want to develop some other characters, fine. But keep making this about Anakin is completely disingenuous. I think it's insulting to the audience as well, you know, who's going to watch it regardless of those particular things. And yes, you'll have some cool Anakin moments. You'll have some cool Obi-Wan moments. You are going to have the bickering between the two of them because that's pretty much what was established in the films. But the other stuff is, you know, it's like, you know, come on, don't like hit me in a spray bottle in the face and tell me that it's raining. I know exactly what's going on over here. It's not what you're saying. You just tell more stories. But don't give me that malarkey over here. It's insulting.
Peter, you got anything to contribute to that bunch of garbage?
No, I said my piece on it earlier.
So I gotta say, you're taking this totally. He's just saying that it's filling out the whole universe. Anakin, of course, being the key character in that universe. And there's nothing wrong. Many authors, many storytellers have done this when they've gone back to go back into the characters. You know, where they've said, "Hey, it's done," and yet they come back again later. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, your personal anti-Star Wars bias clearly shows, you know, that you're not one who's down with the Force like the rest of us are, you know. And the very fact that you would say something like that is sacrilegious to a degree, you know. And I will not be surprised if we are pelted and insulted in the comments because of that. I suggest you apologize right now to the Star Wars fans.
Pelt me, I'll bomb back. Okay, that's the way that it goes.
You know, you gotta look. The thing is that if you watched all of them and you see how the character of Anakin develops in the Clone Wars, you see there's more than just, yes, we understand what happened, but we see how certain aspects of all the things that he cared about, all the things that he was impressed with, and how those things slowly also went away from him, were taken away from him. We also see the very fact that the Emperor has continually, not just one or two or three times we've seen in the movies, but has always been there for him. And so we see the close relationship. In the movies, you don't get that quite the same. It's just like, oh, he's close to the Emperor? Not the Emperor, the Chancellor? Wow, that's interesting. Not realizing that he's been taking a role in him and his development throughout the years. I think Dave Filoni is right. It does help to inform the character better. It does help to make the movies a little better. Of course, no one wants to wade through 7 seasons or 8 seasons of shows to get to that. But you know, it's for a true Star Wars fan. It's the same thing like a Marvel fan watching all the edited reels to see what would have done before in the movies, like which way it could have went. You know, and many of them do that. I see no problem with that, my brother. Okay.
So we all agree, right? No?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, bro. I'm all with that. You know, once again, you guys agree with me, and I think
Well,
that's
does it
always
matter? Does Clone Wars matter? Should we? Is it just fun to go back and watch it if you haven't watched it? Do you recommend to watch it?
I recommend it wholeheartedly, 100,000%. If you're a Star Wars fan and you want to see it, look, I'll give you a great example. I recently had a friend of mine watch Clone Wars, right? Not 1, 2 actually, and just the final season about the whole Ahsoka Tano story and how it impacts on Anakin, and also how it also ends up impacting on the Mandalorian story, which they're basically dealing with now. And they were like, "Wow, this was very interesting." Now, they're really, one of them was only interested in the Ahsoka Tano character, but others are like, "Wow, this whole world building with the Star Wars universe and the Clone Wars, like, wow, I just thought it was just a couple of planets and that was it." But they felt it was much better. And I think that anyone who wants to understand the Star Wars universe is there. There are tons of books, there are tons of comics, you know, that you can read, but the visual, seeing the animation is just such a good thing, you know. And the very fact that they've been able to keep the character of Darth Maul. When I first saw that they're bringing him back, I said, this is completely ridiculous. Completely. But the storytelling, it was so engaging that you're like, wow, it is believable, Darth Maul. He has his own peculiarities.
Cool. Some things are just cool. Don't try to say it makes total sense. It's just cool. Like any cool villain, like when Joker was killed by the creators of Batman, and then next thing you know, the editor is like, no, bring that character back. And they showed you how he came back. It's just cool. You don't need to make total sense. The villain comes back because they're cool. Say it with me.
Cool. Just cool. We're cooling. Just cooling.
We are
cooling, baby.
I'm sorry. Once you said it was a great outgrowth of his character, and it really, it made total sense after he got cut in half. The thing is, you don't cut the cool character in half. Hence, I think in the original plot of Star Wars, Darth Vader was supposed to die, and the next thing was, no, have him fly off into space. And
yeah, he was too good of a villain. But again, these are decisions you make when you don't believe you're coming back. Okay, these are the villain traditionally is supposed to die. Okay, that's supposed to be that's standard story writing. You have the hero, you have the villain. The villain is supposed to beset the hero, try to keep the hero from overcoming. And once the villain is overcome, we know that the hero is going to be able to take care of everything else. So part of overcoming the villain is just getting him out of there. But in terms of overall storytelling, we're like, well, wait a minute, Vader was a great villain. Let's not get rid of him. Okay, bring him back. Just let's leave him. Let's leave him there as an option, just in case. And it was the same thing for the Phantom Menace. This Darth Maul is an established Sith. Okay, he's established. He's tough. He's able to take on 2 Jedis at one time. He's definitely someone who is going to be able to outclass Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan has to overcome this guy, because if not, it's pretty much all over for him, and he does it. And in that, we get to see why it is that Obi-Wan is in that upper echelon of Jedis, because even without full training, even while still a Padawan, even when he's at the situation where any other Jedi would have been dead, he still finds a way to overcome Darth Maul. But Darth Maul is still cool. We remember how cool he was in that first movie. We remember him walking back and forth like a tiger in a cage, just waiting to kick some Jedi arse. And you want to see more of that. You've got to see more of that. And so we'll come over and bring him back, which, to be quite honest, I didn't have too much of I really didn't have too much of an issue with. The question, however, which I thought Pete brought up, which is good, is do we need this? No. You could have never had any of these series. You could have never had any of the Clone Wars, and those films, those prequels would have gone along just fine. This is gravy. It's not meat. Okay, it's not potatoes. This is gravy. It's like Star Wars Rebels. Do you really need to watch Star Wars Rebels to enjoy? No, you don't. But if you enjoy Star Wars and the things that Star Wars brings to the table, the sci-fi, the space opera, okay, the Jedi, the Sith, if you enjoy all of that stuff, then this is more for you to enjoy, and that's fine. Is it necessary? No, it's not necessary. We can see the downfall of Anakin with those 3 films that we have. We don't need any more backstory in order to do it. Is it fun to watch? Sure. It's fun to watch because we enjoy these other things, and they're smart enough to give it to us. Do we really need it? 7 seasons of the Clone Wars? Do we really need it? No, we don't need it. Okay. What we do need more shows like The Mandalorian, where they expand on the universe rather than keep holding on and tethering themselves to the jockstrap of Darth Vader and everything that happened with episodes 4, 5, and 6. Expand a little bit more. You developed. That's the one thing I'll give the Clone Wars. You did go in and develop other characters, particularly Ahsoka Tano, okay? And again, I don't remember his Rex. I forget what his rank was. I don't know if it was captain or what have you. But you did a good job.
Yeah, continue. Commander
Rex, that was him?
Yeah, I think Commander, yeah.
Yeah, you did a good job of developing those other characters. And why don't you go forward, do some more stuff with that? The Star Wars universe under Dark Horse Comics was an incredibly big, vibrant place. So many characters introduced. They developed the Star Wars universe before Rebellion. the Knights of the Old Republic, all these different stories that these guys just went for, in addition to still doing stories with the Fab Six, if you will, Luke Skywalker, Leia, Han, Chewie, Lando, the droids. You know, they did a whole bunch of stuff at this point. Do more of that. You don't have to come over here and affix yourself to Obi-Wan, Anakin, or any of that core cast that we're familiar with. Just, you want to tell some more stories. You want to get some more characters out there. I'm ready for that. I would love to see a show. Okay, I would love to see characters like who I've only heard about, and really I've heard about them from Mars. Characters like Admiral Taunt. I would love to see that character come. This guy who comes over here and finds a way to actually take on Jedi, and does it in such a clever manner. Or Luke Skywalker's wife, Mara Jade, or even some of Han Solo's children, his daughter that he has from a previous relationship. I would love to see more stuff like that brought in, because those are things that were more development and more universe building. This right over here, no, I don't really need to see a 7th season of Clone Wars. I don't need any Star Wars. Will you watch it? Watch Star Wars. Do you need it? No.
Well, I mean, the elements, I mean, I agree with many elements that you're saying there. And the comic books and the books, I mean, a huge fan myself of them and many of the characters that were there. But Disney jettisoned them when they took over the series. And though they're starting to bring many of them back in, little by little. But the Clone War also does many of the same things the comics and the books do. I mean, they help to enlarge, and I said this before, the whole universe. The stories, while yes, the primary guys are Anakin, Obi-Wan going forward, they have episodes that they deal with complete other characters, like Ahsoka Tano, for example. Rex, I believe they have one. They have one on a clone who decides he doesn't want to fight anymore, and you bring in these characters and you're like, wow. And it's pretty interesting, the worlds that they go to. And you have planets that are like, hey, I don't want to be part of this whole Clone War at all. I just want to just live separately, leave us out of this madness. Don't bring us in. And I think that's fantastic. That's what you want to see. You want to see an expansion of the universe. And all I'm just saying is that if you are a true fan, this is something that you're going to enjoy. Star Wars Rebels, on the other hand, I think that's a decent show. I don't know if it's the same, but a lot of the stuff there where you have Ahsoka is also involved in that show. Darth Vader shows up in that show. Yoda shows up in that show. So it may not be to the same level as Clone Wars in terms of, but I think it's still a very helpful show if you're interested in this whole universe and what happens and how the rebellion got together. That show is helpful. It definitely shows you how the rebellion actually started, or how elements of the Republic, the rebellion started. I suggest, hey, it's just like if you're interested in these type of things, like Game of Thrones, you have the Dunk and Egg stories. Those are the stories that preceded, I think, by 100 years or 150 years, what happened with the Targaryens, what happened to the kingdom. Then you have now that they're doing a whole new series, the Blood of the Dragon, I believe it is, or the War of the Dragons, where this goes back a couple hundred years before that. How the Targaryens ended up losing their dragons. So I think this is just simple fandom where people want to find out more about their the characters and stories that they like, and they're following them. Whether it's a family, whether it's an individual, and seeing what happens. But I mean, I think we're just talking across preferences. I think we both agree, stories of this caliber are good. It's just you're more not for the Anakin stories. So you feel that you've been informed enough about that and you want to move on. I understand that. I'm not going to hate you for that. I don't think it's right, but hey, what can I do? Petey, let's close this out, baby.
Okay, let's close it out. He's saying the Clone War matters. After
yes.
all that.
After all that, it matters. It matters. And once you watch it, you if you don't like it, I will. If you don't like it, I'll buy you lunch. If you watch the whole series and say, nah, this wasn't needed. What do you say?
Either French fries or real lunch.
I'm talking about the White Castle special, bro. Like when we were kids and it was $2.35 or something like that with the drink included.
All right, fine.
I don't the regular prices.
Heck no, we're going to get the coupon. Cuddle.
I'll take that White Castle. Simply, if it's only to get you to spend your money. I don't like it. Now, give me my food. I don't like
it. Right.
So, comment, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Spin a rack.
Out.
Thank you very much, gents.
Oh